You joined me on my drive on a very windy New Year's Eve because everybody sits in their car to talk about their favourite films of the year on New Year's Eve, don't they? It's just me, isn't it? I thought so. So ordinarily I would just post top 10 films of the year on my social media, but my lovely little channel, of which I'm very proud, has kind of grown a little bit over the course of this year, really actually only in the last couple of months. I went over 200 subscribers and I've now settled, I mean not permanently I hope, but I've now got 235 subscribers, which is mind-blowing to me. I know the channel's been going 5 years and it's small potatoes compared to some YouTubers, but to me it's amazing. And I know for a fact that people have gone to watch films on my recommendation. I know that these videos are watched by people who don't know me in real life, and all of that is just wonderful. So if you are one of the people who doesn't know me and watches these videos anyway, I've got a weird shadow here that I'm trying to get rid of. Turn my head that way. I mean, you're here for all the top production values, aren't you? So if you are somebody who doesn't know me in real life and just watches because you enjoy watching a middle-aged woman in a car review films, then welcome. And if you do know me, then thank you for putting up with this nonsense and getting involved. So I've got my top 10 of the year, I've written it down, and I've got some honourable mentions as well. And I don't know if I should do the honourable mentions first. These are the ones that didn't make the top 10. The car is properly shaking. Special effects. Oh, and there's some fireworks going off as well. Never a dull moment. So these are, how many have I got on my honourable mentions list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 films that I saw this year that I really enjoyed but didn't make the top 10. So these ones are in no particular order, and I'm not going to talk about them at length. Every single one of these films has been reviewed separately on my channel, but I just wanted to mention them because in any other year they might have got into my top 10. So this particular film was actually in the top 10 up until a day or so ago, and that is The Fall Guy. This was the big silly action film with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt about a stuntman played by Ryan Gosling. And it was one of those cinema experiences where I walked out with a big stupid grin on my face because the film was just so much fun. And cinema should be, can you hear the fireworks? Cinema should be fun. Films should be entertaining. And with the compiling of a top 10 or a best of 2024, these are my favourite films of the year. These are the films that had the biggest impact on me, moved me the most, made me cry, made me laugh, shocked me. So they're not necessarily the most critically acclaimed films of 2024. They're not the highest grossing films. These are just films that wowed me. Little Katie Reeve toddling along to our cinema while it's still there before it closes, and just watching a film and loving it or not loving it accordingly. So The Fall Guy I absolutely loved and would have made the top 10, but it got booted out a few days ago. Big silly action film. Anybody who doesn't like it or who's sniffy about it needs to give their head a wobble, because sometimes cinema just needs to be big and fun and silly, and it was all of those things. And when your leads are as charismatic as Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, when you've got Hannah Waddingham as a villain, and also the ever excellent Winston Duke in your cast, you really can't go wrong. I loved it. Blink Twice, the directorial debut from Zoe Kravitz, and it went out my head there. Superb, dark, twisted, scary as, great performances from an excellent cast, really, really unsettling, and one that a lot of people should definitely watch, although be warned, it may haunt you. American Fiction, I feel like slipped under the radar here in the UK. I think it must have got some awards nods, which is why my local audience played it. I would watch Jeffrey Wright in absolutely anything. I think he's excellent. There was also a smaller role for the brilliant Sterling K. Brown, who again I would watch in pretty much anything. So if you didn't see American Fiction, I would definitely recommend it. One I saw not that long ago, Conclave. Who knew choosing a new pope was so gripping? Great performances. It's based on a book which I have not read, but I was absolutely hooked. And essentially, yeah, it's just priests choosing a new, like bishops choosing a new pope. Shouldn't have been as absolutely like edge of the seat as it was. The Apprentice, although it wasn't always the most comfortable watch, I thought was really good. The Donald Trump, the early years story with Sebastian Stan playing the lead, and Succession's Jeremy, his name's gone up my head. Oh man. Yeah, man from, it's just gone up my head. I can see him, I can picture him, and his surname will not come to me. Yeah, man from Succession. Yeah, him and Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump. That was really good. Speak No Evil was a remake of, I want to say, a Dutch horror film, but it might not have been Dutch. James McAvoy having all the fun as a villain. Uncomfortable, scary, funny, darkly funny in places, some good twists, an absolute horror romp. I really enjoyed it. Another horror film, Longlegs, with Nicolas Cage having lots of fun as an absolutely unhinged character. That was directed by Oz Perkins, who is the son of Psycho star Anthony Perkins. I really feel he's going to be one to watch as a director of horror films. But yeah, Longlegs was not quite what I expected it to be, but it was creepy and unsettling, and it had really good performances. And I like that Nicolas Cage is wealthy enough to just go, yeah, sod it, I'm going to do whatever I want. So it allows him to make any film he wants to, and sometimes that film is a really dark, twisted horror film like Longlegs. And then the other film that was impressed me but didn't make the top 10 was Juror Number 2, the Clint Eastwood directed film with Nicholas Hoult reuniting with his on-screen mum from About a Boy, Toni Collette. It was really good, gripping. I like a courtroom thing. I like a legal drama. Took some unexpected twists, and Nicholas Hoult is always watchable. So yeah, those were my ones that did make the top 10. So here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gays and theys, this is my top 10 films of 2024. So in at number 10, I feel like I should have the countdown sort of top of the pops type music. In at number 10, The Substance. Again, a horror of sorts. A sort of scathing look at our obsession with youth and the beauty industry. Outstanding performances in the lead roles from Demi Moore and this is ridiculous. I can picture it. This is really bad. This is like your nan reviewing films. The hell's her name? I can see her. The character's called Sue, which is mad because she picks her own name, and you're like, no offense to any Sues out there, but it's not exactly the world's sexiest name, is it? Yeah, The Substance. That's really going to bug me. I'm so sorry. This is really unprofessional. I mean, not that anybody's here for professionalism, but I can't remember her name. Brilliant. So The Substance did become slightly unhinged towards the end and lost me a tiny bit, but it had absolutely hooked me up to that point. Margaret Qualley? Is that her name? It might be. I hope it is. Yeah, let's go with that. The Substance. Very good. Number 9. Big, silly, blockbuster action film, Twisters. I love the original Twister, directed by Jan de Bont back in the day. Weirdly, the first film I ever saw Philip Seymour Hoffman in, even though actually he was a brilliant dramatic actor. But the first time I ever saw him, he was Dusty in Twister. And I didn't know why they were making a sequel or if it was necessary. And then I went to see it in the cinema and I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Great cast, great special effects, great fun. And yeah, I love a big blockbuster when it's done right, and Twisters was actually really done right. I actually went back to see it in 40X and Nelly needed a chiropractor afterwards. So yeah, Twisters was great fun. Lots of horror films featuring. Number 8 was Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. as a nun who finds herself in a very unusual situation while nunning in Italy, I believe. Strange things are afoot. It is an 18th certificate. It goes full batshit crazy violence towards the end, and I loved it. I thought Sydney Sweeney was really good. Apart from The White Lotus, it was the only thing I'd seen her in, and I know she's very popular with whatever Jen, my daughter, is, but I didn't really know a huge amount about her, and she impressed me. Number 7, Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things with Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo. It won loads of awards. It is brave and bold and bonkers. I don't actually love Yorgos Lanthimos as a filmmaker because I saw Kinds of Kindness this year and I didn't like it at all. And I wasn't hugely keen on The Favourite, even though it won awards and the central performances are brilliant, but it wasn't for me. But Poor Things I absolutely loved. It was unusual and pushed boundaries, and Emma Stone is incredible in it. I loved Mark Ruffalo in it as well. Really interesting, and yeah, just nice to see something completely out there and bananas. Number 6, again, a film that attracted awards buzz and won some too, The Holdovers, by Alexandra Payne, who directed Sideways many years ago, which also starred Paul Giamatti. I loved The Holdovers. I really intended to watch it again at Christmas and just didn't get the chance because it wasn't streaming on any of the services that I have, but I would love to revisit it. It is a wonderful, touching, sad, beautiful, brilliant, darkly funny film, and I think lots of people should see it if they haven't already. It's great. In at 5, the film that pushed The Fall Guy out of my top 10 is the Robbie Williams biopic Better Man, where he's played by a CG chimpanzee, which I saw literally 2 days ago. And part of the reason why I didn't finalise my top 10, it was kind of done, but I knew that Better Man might make it into my top 10, and it has. It's in at 5. I've been thinking about it over the last couple of days, about why I liked it and how clever it was and how weird it was that after 5 minutes I stopped thinking about the fact that the central character was a CG chimpanzee. It was great and unusual, and I really liked it. Number 4 is a film I went to see as part of the Odeon's Screen Unseen. You buy a ticket and you don't know what you're going to see. You know it's new, it's not out yet, and it'll be interesting. And up and down the land, Odeon Limitless members went to watch this film, and a lot of them walked out because they didn't like it. I loved it. The film is Kneecap, and it is the sort of a fabled version of the origins of the Irish hip-hop trio Kneecap. 3 men who rap in Irish and push forwards the Irish language and embrace it and all its culture. And it reminded me of The Commitments in some ways. It was really out there and just not at all what I expected when I walked in. And it's nice when a film just grabs you and sort of pins you to your chair and gets all up in your grill, and that's exactly what Kneecap did. Number 3 is a film I saw all the way back in January and have probably thought about twice a week since then, and that is All of Us Strangers with Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal. It had a profound effect on me. I haven't watched it since. I may never watch it again because it's too sad, but it is beautiful and haunting and gets under your skin, and I love when cinema does that, when something is just, it doesn't leave you alone. And like I say, I've thought about that film, I've thought about the relationship between the 2 leads, I've thought about how beautifully constructed it was, I've thought about Jamie Bell's performance, I've thought about the scene in the living room with Andrew Scott and Jamie Bell, and yeah, it is a film that will change you and break you into a million tiny pieces, and you will think about time and time and time again, probably for years after seeing it for the first time. So that is All of Us Strangers, and if you fancy a big old cry, give it a watch. In at number 2, which will undoubtedly be the highest grossing film of 2024, and that is Wicked. I wasn't sure how I felt when I heard that they were making a film or 2 films of the West End musical or Broadway musical. I've seen the musical 3 times. I love it. I love the songs, and I just didn't know how it would work. And then they brought in John M. Chu to direct it, who had previously directed In the Heights, and the film and the story of Wicked could not have been in safer hands. It is glorious. I've seen it twice. I'd like to see it again before it leaves cinemas. The casting of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo as Glinda and Elphaba respectively is flawless. The vocal performances, when you consider the fact that both women, everybody who's singing in the film is singing live, which is just mind-bending. It is visually stunning. It is respectful of its source material while, bringing so much to the world that isn't possible on stage. And I cannot wait to see what they do with part 2. But part 1 did not disappoint. It was absolutely wonderful, and I am glad that I live in the time of Wicked. And then finally, my number 1 film of 2024 is a film that nearly didn't see the light of day. It is the directorial debut of one Mr. Dev Patel, and the film is Monkey Man. I knew very little about this film. I'd seen the poster, I'd seen that it was directed by Dev Patel, and I'd seen that it had Jordan Peele's name on it. And I thought, that'll do me. Sign me up. Where's my ticket? So I went to see Monkey Man one Sunday afternoon. I didn't know a huge amount about it, and it absolutely blew my mind. I reviewed it at the time, obviously, but it is the story of a sort of anonymous Indian man. I don't think we ever really learn his name. He is making a living as sort of doing underground boxing in a Monkey Man mask. This is to do with a story that he was told in childhood, about like an Indian folk story about a sort of superhero Monkey Man. Ultimately, it is about him trying to exact revenge on a corrupt police officer and other officials who took away his home, his village, and his mum. So it's a revenge story, and we've seen a dozen of them, but there's something really special about it. You can tell that Dev Patel poured his heart and soul into it. He made it in conjunction with Netflix, and then they wanted to make cuts to it, and he said no, it goes out as it is. They said no, so they were stuck. And he had this brilliant, ballsy, brutal film, and it wasn't going to be seen by anybody. But he would prefer that it would not be seen by anybody, then it would be cut and it wouldn't be his vision. And then thankfully somebody showed it to Jordan Peele, and Jordan Peele said, I will help you find a studio, and it was unleashed on the world. And I remember everything about going to see it. I remember the experience of watching it. I remember having to turn my head away from the violence, even though I wouldn't say I was particularly squeamish. I remember falling even more in love with Dev Patel than I was already, and being oddly proud of him for making this just absolutely blistering debut film. I don't know how well it did. I don't know lots of people who saw it, but if not a lot of people saw it, I'm glad I'm one of the ones who did. I picked it as my film of the year just because of how much it surprised me, how it gripped me, how it moved me. It made me laugh, it made me squirm, and yeah, give all the flowers to Dev Patel for an absolute belter of a debut. So that is my 2024 in films. I've also enjoyed older films at the cinema this year. I saw Shaun of the Dead, I saw Shallow Grave, I saw Gremlins, Gladiator, and 28 days from now my local Odeon will close and I will have to find a new cinema and a new car park to call home. But for now, thank you for watching. If you like what I do, tell other people to subscribe. If ever this channel could become my job, which feels unlikely, let's be honest, but dream big, that would be the best thing in the world, because there is nothing I love more than talking. Well, I love watching films the most, and then I love talking about them second best. Thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe and share. Happy New Year, guys. Katie out.